Hey guys, Sam from Manfa's Makes. How are you all? I hope you are having a wonderful weekend. Please excuse the glare of the sun. I am recording this at 12:30 on Saturday afternoon, and it is one of those autumny, wintry days where the sun is low in the sky and it is beaming on me. So I do apologise for the lighting, but seeing as this is Sunday Stories, you don't really need to be concentrating on me. You just need to be listening to the stories that I read you. So, welcome back to all my returners and hi to any newbies. If you are new here on a weekend, I read you stories from this book here, which is Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales. Just a little disclaimer, as always, any themes, messages, morals, that kind of thing that the stories are trying to tell. I'm not saying that I share them. I am literally just reading you the words from the page. And this book was written a very, 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 very long time ago. And things have changed a lot since then. So let's crack on, shall we? Let's give you your listening time. So we are starting today on story 98, and it is Dr. Knowall. So I'm going to put my book down on my table and I will be looking down to read. Like I said, it's not one of those videos that you have to watch what I'm doing. You literally just have to work away on whatever project you are working on and just listen, because I know a lot of you like audiobooks. That's why I do these stories on the weekend. So let's see how many stories we can get done. So like I said, story 98, Dr. Knowall. There was once on a time a poor peasant called Crab, who drove with 2 oxen a load of wood to the town and sold it to a doctor for 2 talkers. When the money was being counted out to him, it so happened that the doctor was sitting at table, and when the peasant saw how daintily he ate and drank, his heart desired what he saw, and he would willingly have been a doctor too. So he remained standing a while, and at length inquired if he too could not be a doctor. "Oh yes," said the doctor, "that is soon managed." "What must I do?" asked the peasant. "In the first place, buy yourself an ABC book of the kind which has a cock on the frontispiece. In the second, turn your cart and your 2 oxen into money, and get yourself some clothes and whatever else pertains to medicine. Thirdly, have a sign painted for yourself with the words, 'I am Dr. Knowall,' and have that nailed up above your door." The peasant did everything that he had been told to do. When he had doctored people a while, but not long, a rich and great lord had some money stolen. Then he was told about Dr. Knowall, who lived in such and such a village, and must know what had become of the money. So the lord had the horses put in his carriage, drove out to the village, and asked Crab if he were Dr. Knowall. Yes, he was, he said. Then he was to go with him and bring back the stolen money. "Oh yes, but Grieth, my wife, must go too." The lord was willing, and let both of them have a seat in the carriage, and they all drove away together. When they came to the nobleman's castle, the table was spread, and Crab was told to sit down and eat. "Yes, but my wife Grieth too," said he, and he seated himself with her at the table. And when the first servant came with a dish of delicate fare, the peasant nudged his wife and said, "Grieth, that was the first," meaning that was the servant who brought the first dish. The servant, however, thought he intended by that to say, "That is the first thief," and as he actually was so, he was terrified and said to his comrade outside, "The doctor knows all. We shall fare ill. He said I was the first." The second did not want to go in at all, but was forced. So when he went in with his dish, the peasant nudged his wife and said, "Grieth, that is the second." This servant was just as much alarmed, and he got out. The third did not fare better, for the peasant again said, "Grieth, that is the third." The fourth had to carry in a dish that was covered, and the lord told the doctor that he was to show his skill and guess what was beneath the cover. The doctor looked at the dish, had no idea what it was, and cried, "Ah, poor Crab." When the lord heard that, he cried, "There, he knows it. He knows who has the money." On this the servants looked terribly uneasy, and made a sign to the doctor that they wished him to step outside for a moment. When therefore he went out, all 4 of them confessed to him that they had stolen the money, and said that they would willingly restore it and give him a heavy sum into the bargain, if he would not denounce them, for if he did they would be hanged. They led him to the spot where the money was concealed. With this the doctor was satisfied, and returned to the hall, sat down to the table, and said, "My lord, now I will search in my book where the gold is hidden." The 5th servant, however, crept into the stove to hear if the doctor knew still more. The doctor, however, sat still and opened his ABC book, turned the pages backwards and forwards, and looked for the cock. As he could not find it immediately, he said, "I know you are there, so you had better show yourself." Then the fellow in the stove thought that the doctor meant him, and full of terror sprang out crying, "That man knows everything." Then Dr. Knowall showed the count where the money was, but did not say who had stolen it, and received from both sides much money in reward, and became a renowned man. Okay, we'll move on to story 99, and it is called The Spirit in the Bottle. There was once a poor woodcutter who toiled from early morning till late night. When at last he had laid by some money, he said to his boy, "You are my only child. I will spend the money which I have earned with the sweat of my brow on your education. If you learn some honest trade, you can support me in my old age, when my limbs have grown stiff and I am obliged to stay at home." Then the boy went to a high school and learned diligently, so that his masters praised him, and he remained there a long time. When he had worked through 2 classes, but was still not yet perfect in everything, the little pittance which the father had earned was all spent, and the boy was obliged to return home to him. "Ah," said the father sorrowfully, "I can give you no more, and in these hard times I cannot earn a farthing more than will suffice for our daily bread." "Dear father," answered the son, "don't trouble yourself about it. If it is God's will, it will turn to my advantage. I shall soon accustom myself to it." When the father wanted to go into the forest to earn money by helping to pile and stack wood and also chop it, the son said, "I will go with you and help you." "Nay, my son," said the father, "that would be hard for you. You are not accustomed to rough work and will not be able to bear it. Besides, I have only 1 axe and no money left to buy another." "Just go to the neighbour," answered the son. "He will lend you his axe until I have earned one for myself." The father then borrowed an axe of the neighbour, and next morning at break of day they went out into the forest together. The son helped his father and was quite merry and brisk about it. But when the sun was right over their heads, the father said, "We will rest and have our dinner, and then we shall work as well again." The son took his bread in his hands and said, "Just you rest, father. I am not tired. I will walk up and down a little in the forest and look for birds' nests." "Oh, you fool," said the father, "why should you want to run about there? Afterwards you will be tired and no longer able to raise your arm. Stay here and sit down beside me." The son, however, went into the forest, ate his bread, was very merry, and peered in among the green branches to see if he could discover a bird's nest anywhere. So he went up and down to see if he could find a bird's nest, until at last he came to a great dangerous-looking oak, which certainly was already many 100 years old, and which 5 men could not have spanned. He stood still and looked at it, and thought many a bird must have built its nest in that. Then all at once it seemed to him that he heard a voice. He listened and became aware that someone was crying in a very smothered voice, "Let me out! Let me out!" He looked around, but could not discover nothing. Nevertheless, he fancied that the voice came out of the ground. Then he cried, "Where are you?" The voice answered, "I am down here among the roots of the oak tree. Let me out! Let me out!" The scholar began to loosen the earth under the tree and search among the roots, until at last he found a glass bottle in a little hollow. He lifted it up and held it against the light, and then saw a creature shaped like a frog springing up and down in it. "Let me out! Let me out!" it cried anew, and the scholar, thinking no evil, drew the cork out of the bottle. Immediately a spirit ascended from it and began to grow, and grew so fast that in a very few moments he stood before the scholar, a terrible fellow as big as half the tree by which he was standing. "Do you know," he cried in an awful voice, "what your wages are for having let me out?" "No," replied the scholar fearlessly. "How should I know that?" "Then I will tell you," cried the spirit. "I must strangle you for it." "You should have told me that sooner," said the scholar, "for I should have left you shut up. But my head shall stand fast for all you can do. More persons than one must be consulted about that." "More persons here, more persons there," said the spirit. "You shall have the wages you have earned. Do you think that I was shut up there for such a long time as a favour? No, it was a punishment for me. I am the mighty Mercurius. Whoever releases me, I must strangle. Softly, answered the scholar, not so fast. I must first know that you really were shut up in that little bottle, and that you are the right spirit. If indeed you can get in again, I will believe, and then you may do as you will with me. The spirit said haughtily, That is a very trifling feat, drew himself together, and made himself as small and slender as he had been at first, so that he crept through the same opening and right through the neck of the bottle in again. Scarcely was he inside than the scholar thrust the cork he had drawn back into the bottle, and threw it among the roots of the oak into its old place, and the spirit was betrayed. And now the scholar was about to return to his father, but the spirit cried very piteously, Oh, do let me out! Oh, do let me out! No, answered the scholar, not a second time. He who has once tried to take my life shall not be set free by me, now that I have caught him again. If you will set me free, said the spirit, I will give you so much that you will have plenty all the days of your life. No, answered the boy, you would cheat me as you did the first time. You are playing away with your own good luck, said the spirit. I will do you no harm, but will reward you richly. The scholar thought, I will venture it. Perhaps he will keep his word, and anyhow he shall not get the better of me. Then he took out the cork, and the spirit rose up from the bottle as he had done before, stretched himself out, and became as big as a giant. Now you shall have your reward, said he, and handed the scholar a little bag just like a plaster, and said, If you spread one end of this over a wound, it will heal, and if you rub steel or iron with the other end, it will be changed into silver. I must just try that, said the scholar, and went to a tree, tore off the bark with his axe, and rubbed it with one end of the plaster. It immediately closed together and was healed. Now it is all right, he said to the spirit, and we can part. The spirit thanked him for his release, and the boy thanked the spirit for his present, and went back to his father. Where have you been racing about, said the father. Why have you forgotten your work? I said at once that you would never get on with anything. Be easy, father, I will make it up. Make it up indeed, said the father angrily. There's no art in that. Take care, father, I will soon hew that tree there so that it will split. Then he took his plaster, rubbed the axe with it, and dealt a mighty blow, but as the iron had changed into silver, the edge turned. Hullo, father, just look what a bad axe you've given me. It has become quite crooked. The father was shocked and said, Oh, what have you done? Now I shall have to pay for that, and have not the wherewithal, and that is all the good I have got by your work. Don't get angry, said the son. I will soon pay for the axe. Oh, you blockhead, cried the father. What will you pay for it? You have nothing but what I give you. There are students' tricks that are sticking in your head, but you have no idea of woodcutting. After a while, the scholar said, Father, I can really work no more. We had better take a holiday. Oh, what? Answered he. Do you think I will sit with my hands lying in my lap like you? I must go on working, but you may take yourself off home. Father, I am here in this wood for the first time. I don't know my way alone. Do go with me. As his anger had now abated, the father at last let himself be persuaded and went home with him. Then he said to the son, Go and sell your damaged axe and see what you can get for it, and I must earn the difference in order to pay the neighbour. The son took the axe and carried it into town to a goldsmith, who tested it, laid it in the scales, and said, It is worth 400 thalers. I have not so much as that with me. The son said, Give me what you have, I will lend you the rest. The goldsmith gave him 300 thalers, and remained 100 in his debt. The son thereupon went home and said, Father, I have got the money. Go and ask the neighbour what he wants for the axe. I know that already, answered the old man. 1 thaler 6 groschen. Then give him 2 thalers 12 groschen. That is double and enough. See, I have money in plenty. And he gave the father 100 thalers, and said, You shall never know want, live as comfortably as you like. Good heavens, said the father, how have you come by these riches? The scholar then told how all had come to pass, and how he, trusting in his luck, had made such a good hit. But with the money that was left, he went back to the high school and went on learning more, and as he could heal all wounds with his plaster, he became the most famous doctor in the whole world. There we go. We will do one more as it is relatively short, and then that will be it until next weekend. So we are on story 100, The Devil's Sooty Brother. A disbanded soldier had nothing to live on and did not know how to get on. So he went out into the forest, and when he had walked for a short time, he met a little man who was, however, the devil. The little man said to him, "What ails you? You seem so very sorrowful." Then the soldier cried, "I am hungry but have no money." The devil said, "If you will hire yourself to me and be my serving man, you shall have enough for all your life. You shall serve me for 7 years, and after that you shall again be free. But one thing I must tell you, and that is, you must not wash, comb, or trim yourself, or cut your hair or nails, or wipe the water from your eyes." The soldier said, "All right, if there is no help for it," and went off with the little man, who straightway led him down into hell. Then he told him what he had to do. He was to poke the fire under the kettles wherein the hell broth was stewing, keep the house clean, drive all the sweepings behind the doors, and see that everything was in order. But if he once peeped into the kettles, it would go ill with him. The soldier said, "Good, I will take care." And then the old devil went out again on his wanderings, and the soldier entered upon his new duties, made the fire and swept the dirt well behind the doors, just as he had been bidden. When the old devil came back again, he looked to see if all had been done, appeared satisfied, and went forth a second time. The soldier now took a good look on every side. The kettles were standing all around hell with a mighty fire below them, and inside they were boiling and sputtering. He would have given anything to look inside them, if the devil had not so particularly forbidden him. At last he could no longer restrain himself, slightly raised the lid of the first kettle and peeped in, and there he saw his former corporal shut in. "Aha, old bird," he said, "do I meet you here? You once had me in your power, now I have you." And he quickly let the lid fall, poked the fire, and added a fresh log. After that he went to the second kettle, raised its lid also a little, and peeped in. His former ensign was in that. "Aha, old bird, so I find you here. You once had me in your power, now I have you." He closed the lid again and fetched yet another log to make it really hot. Then he wanted to see who might be sitting up in the third kettle. It was actually a general. "Aha, old bird, do I meet you here? Once you had me in your power, now I have you." And he fetched the bellows and made hellfire blaze right under him. So he did his work 7 years in hell, did not wash, comb, or trim himself, or cut his hair or nails, or wash the water out of his eyes, and the 7 years seemed so short to him that he thought he had only been half a year. Now, when the time had fully gone by, the devil came and said, "Well, Hans, what have you done?" "I poked the fire under the kettles, and I have swept all the dirt well behind the doors." "But you have peeped into the kettles as well. It is lucky for you that you added fresh logs to them, or else your life would have been forfeited. Now that your time is up, will you go home again?" "Yes," said the soldier, "I should very much like to see what my father is doing at home." The devil said, "In order that you may receive the wages you have earned, go and fill your knapsack full of the sweepings and take it home with you. You must also go unwashed and uncombed, with long hair on your head and beard, and with uncut nails and dim eyes. And when you are asked where you are from, you must say, 'From hell.' And when you are asked who you are to say, 'The devil's sooty brother and my king as well.'" The soldier held his peace and did as the devil bade him, but he was not at all satisfied with his wages. Then, as soon as he was up in the forest again, he took his knapsack from his back to empty it, but on opening it, the sweepings had become pure gold. "I should never have expected that," said he, and was well pleased, and entered the town. The landlord was standing in front of the inn, and when he saw the soldier approaching, he was terrified, because Hans looked so horrible, worse than a scarecrow. He called to him and asked, "Where do you come from?" "From hell." "Who are you?" "The devil's sooty brother and my king as well." Then the host would not let him enter, but when Hans showed him the gold, he came and unlatched the door himself. Hans then ordered the best room and attendants, ate and drank his fill, but neither washed nor combed himself as the devil had bidden him, and at last lay down to sleep. But the knapsack full of gold remained before the eyes of the landlord, and left him no peace, and during the night he crept in and stole it away. Next morning, however, when Hans got up and wanted to pay the landlord and travel further, his knapsack was gone. But he soon composed himself and thought, "You have been unfortunate from no fault of your own," and straightway went back again to hell, complained of his misfortune to the old devil, and begged for his help. The devil said, "Seat yourself, I will wash, comb, and trim you, cut your hair and nails, and wash your eyes for you. And when he had done with him, he gave him the knapsack back again, full of sweepings, and said, "Go and tell the landlord that he must return you your money, or else I will come and fetch him, and he shall poke the fire in your place." Hans went up and said to the landlord, "You have stolen my money. If you do not return it, you shall go down to hell in my place, and will look as horrible as I." Then the landlord gave him the money, and more besides, only begging him to keep it secret, and Hans was now a rich man. He set out on his way home to his father, bought himself a shabby smock frock to wear, and strolled about making music, for he had learned to do that while he was with the devil in hell. There was, however, an old king in that country, before whom he had to play, and the king was so delighted with his playing that he promised him his eldest daughter in marriage. But when she heard that she was to be married to a common fellow in a smock frock, she said, "Rather than do that, I would go into the deepest water." Then the king gave him the youngest, who was quite willing to do it to please her father, and thus the devil's sooty brother got the king's daughter, and when the aged king died, the whole kingdom likewise. There we go, guys. That is your 3 stories for today. I hope you enjoyed them. I will be back tomorrow with another magazine look through. Then on Tuesday there is a slightly video that I have planned, so please do stay tuned for that. And every day there is always something different at Manfa's Makes. Please do stay tuned and tune in and see what we will be up to this week. I hope the rest of your weekend goes by very enjoyably and you get a lot of crafting done. And yeah, until then, stay safe, be kind, look after one another, get some good quality time in with your loved ones, and get some good quality crafting time in. I will see you in the next one or around the YouTube streets. Bye, guys. Love you.